During this short week, we will examine the assignment guidelines for conducting the teaching analyses for this term. You've already reviewed them during the first week of the course, but today's content will enable all of us to look at the assignment guidelines more specifically and to answer any questions or clarify any muddy points. We'll start with the purpose of this assignment. SCED 3721, Practicum 1, is a co-requisite to SCED 3121 in which you learn to build curriculum. One purpose of a clinical field experience in SCED 3721 is to see that curriculum actually at work and eventually to assist at delivering that curriculum. Social distancing restrictions preclude us from the delivery part, but we can have opportunities to observe teaching and practice even if we're not in the same physical location of the classroom. That's where these assignments come in. We'll observe veteran teachers doing their work and we'll write analytic reflections on what we observe. The teaching observations will be related to our emphasized standards in the Intern Keys rubric. Those are standards 1, 7, 9, and 10. Dr. Smith and Dr. Barrow have introduced you to the Intern Keys rubric in SCED 3121. But for good measure, let's look at the criteria that serve as evidence for our emphasized standards. Standard 1 is professional knowledge. This standard focuses on a teacher's knowledge of subject matter and a teacher's knowledge of how to teach that subject matter. Behaviors that would exhibit such knowledge include the following: addressing appropriate curriculum standards and integrating key content elements, facilitating students' use of higher level thinking skills, think in terms of Bloom's taxonomy, demonstrating the ability to link present content with past and future learning experiences and other subject areas and real-world experiences or applications, demonstrating accurate, deep, and current knowledge of subject matter, exhibiting pedagogical skills relevant to the subject areas taught and best practices based on current research, basing instruction on goals that reflect high expectations for all students and clear understanding of the curriculum, and displaying understanding of the intellectual, social, emotional, and physical development of the age group. An evaluator wouldn't expect a teacher to demonstrate all of those behaviors every time she is observed, but these are the kinds of behaviors that would demonstrate professional knowledge. Standard 7 is a positive learning environment. This standard focuses on a teacher's ability to manage an orderly classroom while encouraging learning and showing respect for all. Behaviors demonstrating this standards would be the following: responding to disruptions in a timely, appropriate manner, establishing clear expectations for classroom rules, routines, and procedures, and enforcing them consistently and appropriately, modeling caring, fairness, and respect and enthusiasm for learning, promoting a climate of trust and teamwork within the classroom, promoting respect for and understanding of students' diversity, including but not limited to race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and disability, actively listening and paying attention to students' needs and responses, creating a warm, attractive, inviting, and supportive classroom environment, arranging the classroom materials and resources to facilitate group and individual activities. Again, an evaluator wouldn't expect a teacher to demonstrate all of those behaviors every time she's observed, especially the first one. Let me clarify that a disruption could be any number of things. It could be an announcement, misbehavior, a principal calling on the phone, a bird flying into the window. Disruptions don't always happen though, so if there are none, then I consider that a real win for the teacher. But an evaluator should always see a teacher actively listening and paying attention to students' needs. A teacher should always create a warm, inviting, and supportive classroom. A teacher should regularly have materials at the ready, so some of these criteria would be behaviors regularly demonstrated. Standard 9 is professionalism. The topic of this standard speaks for itself. It focuses on the teacher's professional choices and whether they comply with ethics policies, the law, the school's mission, and general manners. But this standard also includes expectations for teachers to continue building on their expertise and to continue a practice of self-assessment. Because of those expectations, teachers won't demonstrate all the specific criteria during a classroom observation. For instance, we won't observe a teacher participating in ongoing professional growth activities or evaluating personal strengths and weaknesses, but there will be others that we would expect to see in the classroom. For instance, carrying out duties in accordance with federal and state laws, codes of ethics, and established state and local school board policies. Maintaining a professional demeanor and behavior, including appearance, punctuality, and attendance. Demonstrating flexibility in adapting to school change. That last one may or may not happen during a classroom observation, but because disruptions can happen anytime, school change might happen anytime. So we might have opportunities to witness how flexible a teacher can be. But we should always be able to assess a teacher's professional behavior, speech, and appearance. Standard 10 is communication. Like Standard 9, this standard's topic speaks for itself. Communication is a broad term which refers not only to a teacher's speech, but also the way a teacher writes and the way she uses nonverbal communication. Not only that, but this standard assesses the way a teacher communicates to students, parents, administrators, staff, and other community stakeholders. In a classroom observation, we would expect to see communication in these forms: using verbal and nonverbal techniques to foster positive interactions and promote learning, using precise language, correct vocabulary and grammar, and correct forms of oral and written communication, explaining directions, concepts, and lesson content to students in logical, sequential, and age-appropriate manners, creating a climate of accessibility for students by demonstrating a collaborative and approachable style, listening and responding with cultural awareness, empathy, and understanding to the voices and opinions of others, and using modes of communication appropriate for given situations. We will view instructional videos and watch for the behaviors that serve as criteria for all 4 of these emphasized standards. Now let's take a look at what the analytical reflection should look like. Because you are at the beginning of your major program, you have much to add to your teaching toolbox. For that reason, we should analyze others' instruction from a positive, productive point of view. When you examine professional educators' instruction, you should focus on strengths and identify opportunities to build those strengths. You might also focus on learning opportunities for yourself. For that reason, the framework you should take when writing your reflection should be the SOAR framework. The acronym SOAR stands for Strengths, Opportunities, Aspirations, and Results. When you analyze a video for strengths, the following questions might guide your observation. What details in or examples of student engagement indicate something that's working well with the instruction? How does the teacher's behavior and/or communication show a direct connection to the criteria listed in the emphasized standard? What specific aspects of the instruction serve as examples of what you know to be best practices in teaching? What instructional materials or resources indicate that the teacher is directly addressing the criteria listed in this emphasized standard? These aren't the only questions you might ask yourself when you're looking for strengths, but let these serve as a guide. In short, you're asking yourself, what's working well with the instruction that I'm observing? Opportunities. This aspect of the framework allows you to identify ideas for building on the strengths that you notice. So the following questions could guide your analysis for this aspect. How did the strengths you noticed open opportunities to extend or enhance the instruction? How did the teaching behaviors and communications present opportunities to facilitate higher order thinking, self-assessment, peer assessment, differentiation, use of innovative technologies or resources for active learning strategies? Did the students do or say anything that pointed to opportunities for further instruction, differentiation, extended learning, remediation, or assessment? Did the lesson remind you of other effective practices you've seen at work in actual classrooms? Your task is to analyze the instruction not critique it. Your approach should be positive and productive, not critical or negative. Many students perceive the opportunities aspect of the analysis to be the chance to point out what's going wrong or to recommend what would be better. You should avoid that stance. Instead, when you notice strengths in the teaching, you can suggest ways that enhance those strengths or extend those strong teaching skills. Avoid writing phrases such as the teacher needs to do X or don't do Y. Think instead in terms of yes and phrases. If you see something working well, you can point out that strength and say, and here's another idea for pushing it forward. And here's an idea for helping students even more. And here's a strategy that might meet the same results in a different way to meet the needs of different learners. With the aspirations aspect of the framework, you can take a look at your own teaching knowledge and set goals or identify opportunities for your own professional growth. Questions like these will guide this aspect of the analysis. Did the strengths or opportunities you noticed help you identify goals you'd like to set for yourself? If so, what? How do the strengths or opportunities you noticed enable you to identify knowledge sources you'd like to explore or topics you'd like to learn more about? Did the students' behavior, answers, or comments inspire you to learn more about certain teaching and learning strategies? If so, what are they? As you write your analysis, you should also think about how the teaching strengths and opportunities will bear positive results on student learning. In addition, you should think about how reaching your goals would lead to positive results in your own teaching knowledge. So for this aspect of the analysis, the following questions will guide your reflection. What could possibly happen if the instructor took the opportunities you identified? What could possibly happen if you reached the goals you identified? If you accessed the resources you identified or learned more about particular teaching learning strategies, how would you like to implement that knowledge in your own teaching? Do you have any questions about the instruction you observed in that video? If so, you can also put those questions in your reflection. As you write the reflection, take notes on what you see and hear in the video of instruction. This is an example of Dr. Rimler's video notes when she observed an Atlas video of a mathematics class. After viewing the video and taking notes, review those notes and select the best details that will help you write about the strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results inherent in that teaching document. Write a draft of your reflection. And keep in mind that we have the Learning Commons and other computer labs available that you can use if needed. Be sure to review the assignment criteria and give yourself the best chance of earning a strong grade. If you need assistance with your writing, consult the Writing Center for feedback on your work. You'll write 4 reflections this semester. You'll also have a chance to review the rubric for those reflections, and you have access to a sample analytical reflection. Still, if you have any questions about these written assignments, you're welcome to reach out to your professor.